This morning it was the coldest day of this winter, and I was ready to light the fires of my fireplace and wood stove for the very first time. Just in time, the chimney sweeper approved 2 fireplaces in my newly bought cottage in the Swedish countryside. I still have to learn how to use them properly and run them efficiently, but the wood fire is desperately needed since the temperatures dropped drastically during this long Swedish winter. This house is 100 years old or even more, nobody knows for sure. And I'm still learning how everything works. And today's the day where I will find out if I can actually keep this place warm. I bought a new set of tools for the fireplace. That really got me in the right mood before I could even use them. And now I proudly present them to you. First, there is a poker, to poke into the firebox and steer the logs to adjust the fire safely. A broom to sweep ashes and kindle from the living room floor. Tongs to reposition burning logs while staying away from the flames. A shovel to scoop the ashes from the firebox, all conveniently on a holder. And a metal bin in which I can put the ashes safely, as it can still hold embers hot and glowing. That's why you never put ashes into a plastic bin or garbage bag, but I'm sure you already knew. There were still ashes in the firebox from its last use, and to be honest, that made me emotional. I bought my cottage from the inheritance of a deceased man. He died more than a year ago. In that year, the house was completely emptied by, I don't know who came to clean it. But everything was gone. Even things that should have stayed, like the hearth plate in front of the fireplace. My neighbors speak highly of the previous owner. I never got to meet him or could see how he lived. And now I realize that I'm currently removing the ashes from the last fire he made. That made me emotional. And I'm now in his place for whatever time I have left. And that will go on and on until this house no longer exists. I put material that easily burns like paper on the bottom. I put 1 log on the side, which allows me to place the logs following on an angle. A bit of cardboard above the paper, then kindle on top of that. The easy to light material on the bottom, the more difficult to light material on the top. Fire burns from the bottom to the top, and each layer will light the one above. But I have the feeling that most of you know that already. Usually, I would put the logs on top now, but it's my first time starting a fire in a firebox, other than the campfires I'm used to when I went camping, and in case something doesn't work out, I will add the logs later. Everything went surprisingly well. It turns out that to light a fire in a firebox is way easier than outside on a campground. And with that, I can now add the logs and put them on top. Again, I just start with a few to be on the safe side. I have done some research beforehand and watched a few YouTube videos. They told me to now close the firebox and move towards the choke lever. Lever or lever, tomato, tomato, who cares? It's a rod on the top of the fireplace that opens and closes the exhaust path. From what I understand, the lever operates a damper inside that controls how quickly hot gases leave the stove and thus how long heat stays stored inside. So far, the whole process went better than I thought, and so I decided to add the final batch of logs. For that, it makes sense to open the choke again, otherwise, the smoke and heat take their way out the front door once I open it. As you can see, the doors are at the end of their lifespan. And I also find it a bit sad that you cannot see the fire. But during my research, I found that they now sell the kakelung, which is the name of this type of masonry stove, with a glass door. Wouldn't it be nice if I got one and could enjoy not only the warmth of the stove, but also watching the fire and the shadows on the wall from the flickering flames? And now I'm going to talk a little bit about safety. You must have seen that fire extinguisher already. And let's just check it out quickly. So, still has enough pressure. I bought a second one. It's a bit of a smaller one. So, this one is brand new. I then have a fire blanket here. So, you can pull it out. I do have smoke detectors in every room. And I also bought carbon monoxide detectors for each room. I like this one because it has a display. And from what I read in the description, it will start beeping at 30 parts per million, I believe ppm stands for. And but then I can already see in the display if there is a lower level already. But yeah, in this case, everything is fine. And I have them in several rooms, so I have three of them. There's another one here. This is the room with the fireplace that I cannot use. If you've watched my previous video, um, this fireplace was not approved by the chimney sweeper or inspector. So that's fine. But I put a detector here regardless. And then I have one in the kitchen here as well as a smoke detector. And the dog. Now, Vicky, do you feel safe? Because it was so cold that day, I also started a fire in my kitchen wood stove. It's not right in my kitchen, but on its side, hence I bought an oven fan to help move the warm air around it. Same thing as before, it still has the old ashes in it, so I have to clean it first. Well, let's see how good I'll be doing that. Before I start the fire, let me ask you, did I do it right? Would you have done it the same way? Do you know a better way? I'm obviously new to this and I'm not hiding it, I'm not pretending. I would kindly ask you, please share your thoughts with me, but this is my request. Please don't share your opinion. Please share a fact like your experience. The reason why is obviously I don't have a real idea what I'm doing here. So, especially in terms of cleaning. Um, so when people share their opinion in the comments, I obviously can't distinguish that. So I kindly ask you if you have any experience and you would like to share your experience with me, great. But if it's just an opinion in this matter, it doesn't really help me. It will only confuse me. So yeah, I'm really thankful for comments that will help me to actually master this cleaning of a stove and the fireplace. And well, now next thing I will try to light this up. No. The firebox of the kitchen stove is very small. If I try to load it from the front, I won't get far with my hand. But when the stove is cold, there is a better way to gain access from the top. Also, the firebox is shorter. It is too short for my regular log length, but I found a lot of shorter ones in the pile of firewood I got. I start loading the firebox by putting paper again as the bottom layer, followed by cardboard, and kindling on top. Then the actual log. And then I close the stove again. And let's see if that works. All right, let's see how it goes. To get the fire going, I leave the door slightly open on purpose. The fire needs a lot of oxygen at the beginning and it pulls the air in from the front. By leaving just a small gap instead of opening the door completely, the draft into the firebox becomes stronger. And now I'll put the fan here that creates electricity by being put on a hot surface while the top is colder. You probably know that already. And it should turn fairly quickly because it should be really hot by now. Let's see what the fire is doing. Oh yeah, good. I think that kitchen stove is not good enough to use it to heat the place. It's really just for cooking and or baking. Um, yeah, that's my opinion now. For as a first time user, it's pretty cool that I got it started and also so quickly. There's a lot of fires that I have started already. I mean, campfires. Well, I started a fire once as a kid in my parents' place, but that's a different story that I don't want to talk about. I was 4 years old, maybe three, I don't know. But back to the kitchen stove. It's there actually. But I wanted to have this little kid in the picture as well. The blue thing, by the way, is a dinosaur. A squeaky one. I don't want to push it now because she's relaxing and then she'll be like, yay, party. Okay. Yeah, so I think that kitchen stove again is a good addition to help heating the place, especially when it's like really cold outside, but probably not the best heat source for heating, but really just for the purpose of cooking and baking. I talked about this for a long time, and now it finally happens. I'm testing my water because I have my own well, and it is recommended to have it tested every 3 years. It came with a cooling pack that I had to freeze for the water to stay on a low temperature during the return shipping. I had to fill up 3 bottles and a file. Once I have the results, I will let you know. I had to drive to a courier service before the end of the day so it could get shipped the same night, so the samples wouldn't warm up. Once in town, I also checked out shower cubicles, a renovation project I want to start very soon. If you follow my videos, then you know that I've told a couple of good things about my neighbors. And so today is February 17th, and the 17th is a special day in Sweden. Fettisdagen literally means fat day, or in English, Shrove Tuesday. It is the day before Lent, the period of fasting before Easter. It's a century-old tradition in Sweden to eat lots and fatty. And in our modern times, the custom is to eat a semla, a pastry which is put on a plate with hot milk. I ran into my neighbor today and was given a semla and a Swedish flag. Actually, I didn't know the part with the hot milk on the plate at that time, so I just ate it that way. But there's always a next year. Oh, and of course, it's not always February 17th, but always the Tuesday before, Lent starts. And I still have to figure out how to eat this. Is it with a fork or is it like a hamburger? It looks so nice. I wish I could just put it in epoxy and keep it forever. And this is it for today. This time, no big renovation project, but it will come once it gets warmer. This time, it was about surviving the cold. And I think I did pretty well with starting the 2 fireplaces in my old Swedish cottage. Leave a comment on how I did and share a story of your experience with wood heat. And before you let me go, check out the videos on the end screen, which is the last few seconds before the video ends. There may be a video suggested you haven't seen yet. Thank you for watching.